Hello? Okay, so I just did this entire lecture and figured out I wasn't recording. So let's try this again. All right, I am your instructor, Renee Jones, if you haven't seen me. And I'm making this video because this chapter, this week is where we actually start getting into coding quite a bit, where you're actually coding from the book. And the first chapter that we are looking at is chapter 4, which is the steps in diagnostic coding. I have broken those down personally for me into 3 steps. This might help you as you're going through the rest of the semester and in coding 2 if you're following me into coding 2. I call it taking it to the mat. You know, I'm taking it to the mat. Main term, alphabetic index, tabular. So the main term is why they're there after study. Alphabetic index is where you go to look that up, beginning at the front of your code book. And the tabular is where you're going to get additional things like your additional characters, or if you have to have any additional codes, those notes are going to be there. Tabular is very, very important. I've had students in the past who saw that there was a code in the alphabetic index and went ahead and wrote that down without knowing that there were notes that they needed to code additional information. So they missed that because they only coded once. And if you are going to submit your codes to the insurance company, which basically is what that is, coding is how you get money. You take that broken arm and you turn it into a code that the insurance company, no matter where they are, Maine, California, Oregon, Arkansas, Florida, you know, they all have the same codes. So the insurance company knows what it is. That's what we do. We take it from Dr. Scrawl to an actual code. So, or, you know, now since we're all electronic, a doctor's drawl to an actual code that someone in Maine could still understand. So the tabular is very important because if you don't have that additional code, the insurance company will send it back. So you'll be able to change it and update it, but it will take longer for whoever you're working for to get money, to get paid, because they had to send it back. So they didn't just say, oh, here it is, pay it out. They said, oh, here it is, what? And then they sent it back to you. And so then you were able to fix it and then send it back. But that takes a lot of time that you could have avoided if you had gone to the tabular and got all that extra information. So also, if you coded incorrectly, you could go to jail. I don't know if those of you have had law and ethics or who are looking in medical office procedures who have looked at some of the laws. But if you code incorrectly, especially to companies like Medicaid and Medicare, which, let's face it, we're in the South, kind of down here, we have a lot of that. I think they have a lot of it everywhere. Then you could actually go to jail for fraud, for trying to defraud the government. Even if it's an accident, they have a different area where it's like accidentally defrauding the government, but you still have high fines and you can have jail time for that. So coding and coding correctly is very important. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about is sequencing. And in sequencing, this is important to us because it's what code goes first. So there are a couple of different types of codes or sequences of codes. You have an admitting code, which is why that person showed up before study. So it doesn't really affect us in this coding class. It's more something that you would put on in reimbursement, when we're doing reimbursement, when we have our CMS 1500s or UBO 4s, an admitting diagnosis, but that's not what we get paid for. That's just why that person is there. It's basically the person said, I have a headache. That's their admitting diagnoses. Okay, so then after study, we find out that it's not just a regular headache, it's a migraine. And so that's what we would actually code, is the migraine. But we also found out that this person has chronic diabetes. So we would code that as an additional code simply because it's going to affect the way that we treat this patient because they have an additional disease. So maybe they're already taking a medication that could interfere with normally prescribed migraine medication. So you always code that because it is additional information that the insurance company can use. We don't really necessarily get paid for it unless we give medications for the diabetes, or if we if the doctor re-diagnoses, but it is additional information. Another place that you need to go for additional information is your Z codes. We don't get to it until week 8, but if you want to go ahead and kind of skip ahead and look at some of the Z codes, because Z codes kind of cover everything. They have history, family history, personal history. It also has, if you have a DNR, a do not resuscitate, then that's going to be in a Z code. It might also have things when we talk about mamas and babies, when we get into the O's in the P chapter, it has gestation weeks. So those are, like I said, you might just want to peek ahead. Like I said, I think it's the last chapter, so it doesn't come around until week 8. But you might just want to say, oh, okay, this is in here, and just kind of look around and see what all it, resistance to antibiotic drugs, that's in there. Also, when you have encounters, so a wellness checkup, if a mama is just going in there for her normal prenatal visit, that's going to be a Z code. Okay, so like I said, Z covers kind of everything, and you might want to just peek ahead for that. Now, in these chapters that we're doing in week 4, in your textbook, it is chapters 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So we have the nervous system, the ears, the eyes, the circulatory system, and the respiratory system. In all of these chapters, you're basically doing MAT, other than the circulatory system, which is chapter 9 in our code book, but chapter 14 in our textbook. I always try to make that difference if you need it. So if I'm talking about something in the textbook, I'll say this is chapter whatever in the textbook, or chapter whatever in the code book. Code is where our codes are. So that's your ICD-10. That's your ICD-10 book that we're dealing with. Okay. So in chapters in the textbook or in the code book, chapters 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, nervous system through respiratory system. The only one that has something that's not, basic MAT is going to be the circulatory system. Let me see if I can see that. Also, there's a new word, sire, which means caused by. And so when I'm talking about a causal relationship, if it says sire in the case study, then that is a causal relationship. So let me see if I can get that all up here at this time. Yes. Okay. So the first type is hypertension with heart failure. Okay, so if you have hypertension with heart failure, you're going to ask yourself, is there a causal relationship? If the answer is yes, then your keyword is going to be hypertension. You're going to code the heart failure separately. So if you have where it says hypertensive heart disease with left heart failure, then you are going to code your hypertensive heart disease with heart failure, which is an I11.0 code. It covers all of that. The hypertensive with heart failure. Then you're going to code additionally, it says left heart failure. So you coded this together with this code, and then you're going to code the heart failure separately. In this case, it's I50.1 because it said left heart failure, so we do left ventricle failure. So that's my hypertension with heart. Okay, the other kind is hypertensive with chronic kidney failure. It's my little kidney bean right here. You're also going to ask yourself, is there a causal relationship? If the answer is no, then you don't worry about it. Okay. If it's yes, then you would code it like you would normally code it using MAT if there's not a causal relationship. If there is a causal relationship, then you are going to code them all separately. Okay, so you're going to have, the keyword is still going to be hypertension, but it's going to be hypertensive with chronic heart disease and heart failure. Okay, so in this case, an example would be patient is admitted, hypertensive heart and kidney disease with congestive heart failure and stage 2 chronic kidney disease. Okay, so when you have this, you're going to code all of this together in one code. That's this one. You are going to code, can you see that over here? Code separately the heart failure and the stage of the chronic kidney disease. So if you have a causal relationship, you will have at least 3 codes. The one that includes all of it. So if I'm saying hypertensive heart and kidney disease with congestive heart failure and stage 2 chronic kidney disease, my code is going to be I13.0, which is hypertensive heart and chronic kidney disease with heart failure and stage 1 through stage 4 chronic kidney disease or unspecified chronic kidney disease. So that's all included in that one code, I13.0. But then we're, in addition to that, code separately heart failure. Okay, so what did it say about the heart failure? It just said hypertensive heart and kidney disease with congestive heart failure. All right, so it didn't really specify anything. I mean, just basic heart failure. So you are going to use I50.9, which is heart failure unspecified. I mean, it didn't give us any more information, so we couldn't really do anything with that. So we're going to code to the best of our ability, which is the I50.9. I have that written backwards too, don't I? Okay. Yeah, so I50.9. Then, so we've done all of it together. We've coded the heart failure. Then we're going to code the stage of the chronic kidney disease. And it says that it was stage 2 chronic kidney disease. So we're going to look, it's going to be N18.2. And chronic kidney disease stage 2 is, I mean, that's the description. It's pretty easy. Also, if you go look in your code book at I13.0, the notes that show up in the tabular give you this additional information. It says code also this and this. Okay, so if you've looked at your notes, you know that sometimes it says code also, and that means that you're going to use, this is your primary code. This is the primary code. Then you're going to code these in addition to that code, according to the note. Sometimes you will see code first. What do you think that means? It means code this first, and then code what you thought was going to be first. All right, so that's kind of it for this week. I will try to get back with you next week. This is normally what I would have talked about in the interactive classroom, but I guess it's not at a good time for everyone, so I just decided to post this little video. If you have any questions, you know, you can always text me. My text information is up at the top of the Blackboard, or you can email me. And if you need to see my face to face, then you can email me and we can see if we can get together. Like I could go to the Monticello Library, or we could meet somewhere like that. All right. Bye.